Hello, Tracy. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me?
I'm muted, but I can. There you go.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Let me make sure this is unmuted.
Your hair has gotten
Make
so
sure
long since the last time I saw you.
It is. Yeah, I've been growing it out a little bit. Okay, it looks like we're all unmuted, so good. So I'm in Cancun right now.
Nice.
My book launch, I'm very excited. My stuff. Okay. Let's see, it's Louise. She's not on yet.
She's still connecting there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you look fantastic. Your hair's a lot longer too.
It is well, I just had it colored the other day, so it's like straighter than it normally is too. So it looks longer because of that.
It looks awesome. You always look awesome though. You're very photogenic.
Thank you.
Oh no, I think the screen froze. So Louise, I hope you can, I know who Louise said she was going to be out and about in Sydney, Australia. During this Zoom. I told her that should be fine. But I'm going to share with you real quickly. I know that you were added to the Dr. Joe.
Yeah, when I finally figured out it wasn't under Louise's name, I was like, I don't know where to find it. So.
Yeah, so there's about 84,000 members in that particular group, which is a very engaged group. There's our beautiful soul sister, Louise from Sydney, Australia.
How are you doing?
Great,
really well. It's really great to meet you, Tracy.
You too. We're coming from 3 parts of the world right now. I love it.
Yeah, yes. Whereabouts are you, Tracy?
Exciting.
I'm in Southern California. I'm near where Lillian normally is, but she's traveling. So
yes, normally we're
lovely.
Normally we're 15 minutes apart because she's in neighboring Irvine and I'm in Huntington Beach, Newport. So we're normally geographically close.
Oh, wow.
So, and you are in beautiful Sydney right now, right?
I am. It's Saturday morning here. Yeah, it's great.
Nice. Yeah, it's about 9 a.m., right?
Yeah.
Starting your day. Fantastic.
Well, my youngest daughter wants to go to Sydney because she's convinced that there's a real mermaid island there. She's 8. She really believes there's a mermaid island off of the shore, and you can see it from the opera house, according to her. And I had no idea. It must be some YouTube show she's watching.
That's amazing. Oh, I love that. My daughter still wants me to buy a real unicorn for her.
Oh, well, mine too. So mermaids and unicorns, we got that in common.
Well, my daughter was into unicorn and mermaids as well. And it was really interesting. First of all, I've been wanting to go to Sydney for a very long time. I have friends like Louise that are over there. And interestingly enough, part of my heritage is Italian. So when I went to Vietri sul Mare, which is on the Amalfi Coast, you're not going to you're not going to believe this, but of course, right in the town plaza, in the center, right as you come in, is a mermaid. And I thought, OMG, that's another sign.
Wow.
Our daughters would be all very happy.
I think the screen froze, huh? Yeah, I'm getting a notice. Your internet connection is unstable.
Of course.
So anyhow, so the purpose I wanted to connect you to, because you ladies are two both amazing international powerhouses. Tracy Leigh Hazzard of Inc. magazine, of podcasters, Podetize specifically. Tracy, she's the only human being I know who has over 40 patents for inventions. I mean, it's amazing to have 40 patents. And I'm really excited about one of her most recent patents. I'm not going to mention because Tracy, you know exactly what patent. I could be using that right now.
I know.
So I'm going to tell Louise about that because it's very exciting, very, very exciting. It's very cutting edge. And she also is a contributor to Inc. magazine. She does half a dozen articles a month. Tracy is the embodiment of a Renaissance woman. She's doing all of this in the entrepreneurial field while she has 3 daughters, and she's married with a husband. She really runs an empire. So she's a mover and shaker, and she is very effective at bringing things to market. And she has a heart of gold. She is so warm and engaging. The way you see her here, that's how she is in person. That's why everybody loves and adores her. So Tracy, that's a little bit about Tracy for you, Louise, so that you kind of get to become familiar with her. I think I've known Tracy since like 2013. I think we met at CEO Space, and then later we were on stage together for the pre-Oscar gala event, the City Gala event, where Quincy was given that Lifetime Achievement Award. And we also met India Kinster, the VP of Development for Oprah, who to date, they've been my best supplier for guests for my shows. So that's pretty awesome. And then Louise has an amazing story of body and mind transformation. You know what, Louise, would you share, because I just recently had Louise on my show, just like I've had you, Tracy. Would you share with Tracy some of the highlights? Because otherwise I'm going to go for 30 minutes about what we just uncovered during our reveal during that recent broadcast.
Yeah, so I guess just to kind of summarize, I'm from the UK. I met my partner in the UK, and he's Australian, and then I moved out here, and I've been here about 10 years, and I had 3 kids. And I got into Abraham Hicks when I was in the UK. That's actually how I ended up with my husband. And that was on my vision board, that I saw myself with 3 children at the beach, and that's all happened here in Australia, which was amazing. And then after I had my 3rd child, that's when I got into Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I just had this intention that I wanted to have the same kind of relationship that Abraham has, but Esther has to Abraham. And that's kind of just what happened straight away, actually. And so since then, I've had a lot of, moments where things have transpired because of the meditations. Like I got made redundant from my job, but I actually manifested that I wanted to start my own business. And my husband was like, "You're not quitting your job. We're in COVID." And I'm like, "Okay, there's another way." And that's kind of how that happened. And then I started the Dr. Joe Dispenza meditation group because that's the download that I got in a meditation. Go and start this group. Started it, and then it just kind of hockey stick grow to, I think it's around 84 or 86,000 people now in the group. And recently I've started interviewing people that have had really amazing, life-changing results with Dr. Joe. Again, I kind of was inspired to do that and just share how it's really helping people transform their lives and helping people, because, I guess meditation is hard and lonely. And so I'm really encouraging people to stick with it because it really is life-changing. So that's a bit about my kind of meditation journey, and then starting my business. I've sort of grown that now, and just loving it.
Would you also share, Louise, you have had an extraordinary quantum jump in your marketing business that you that also went through a revolution during this period. And would you share a little bit about that? Because that's pretty extraordinary too. Of course, your life has been improved in so many different areas. Will you share a little bit with Tracy about that?
Yes. When I started my business, I have 17 years experience in corporate marketing. I worked for Gucci, Swarovski, Lloyd's Bank, Nissan, Nestle, a lot of big brands, very senior roles, managing departments. And when I started my business, I really just felt hopeless and clueless. I had no idea what to do. And I really lost all my confidence. And I started following other gurus online. They were like, run Facebook ads for dentists. And I started doing that, and I never really felt in harmony with who I was. But I did that. And then Christmas 2020, I lost all my clients because of the way COVID hit the US, and all the dentists were in the US, and they were like, look, we can't even see our current patients. We don't need any more patients. And so by January of last year, I was back to zero. I had no clients. And I basically, through the meditations, just kind of worked on changing my whole personality, I guess. Like I'll tell you, yeah, the quantum jump that I had recently as well. So I had like a quantum shift. I shifted my business to what I'm most passionate about, which is brand strategy. I started the business again on personal brand strategy, not even that long ago, like a few months ago, where I help coaches and business executives to build their personal brand to grow their business or further their career. And it's just jumped from like 0 to 30K a month within just a few months. It's been amazing. I love it. It's everything that I wanted to do. And yeah, I had another quantum. Well, I've had another one since we last spoke, Lillian. I really don't know what it was, but I had a quantum jump. I had a very powerful meditation. It shifted my energy entirely. I went from, you see some of my earlier videos online, you can see that I seem kind of shy and awkward, to just feeling so confident in myself, to just really believing in what I'm doing. I have no doubts about my capability to get results from my clients. I have no doubts about that I'm doing something that's impactful and helping other people. It really just shifted me. And everyone said to me the next day, like, wow, you seem different today. Like your energy has shifted or something. And everyone comments on my energy, like your energy is amazing. Like, I don't know what it is. I've just shifted. And then I had another one recently, Lillian. I've been doing the Dr. Joe meditation about like changing your personality.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know that one, that book, can't remember what it's called now, but you just do the same meditation every morning to shift your personality, like limiting beliefs and everything. And I feel like in the last couple of weeks, I've just had another up level in terms of shifting my personality and yeah, just, I don't know, just a lot more happier, thankful, in flow state every day. It's just been incredible. I don't know if that's what you're referring to, Lillian, but that's kind of what's been happening.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you're embodying more of the true you, of who you truly are, and getting comfortable with that feeling of being in the truest essence of your being. So I love that. So thank you so much, Louise, for sharing that bit of information. Tracy, if you would now share the most exciting thing that you're working on right now, and if there's like 1, 2, or 3 things that you're most passionate about that perhaps you see that we can collaborate with, and how we can help leverage each other, because I really think that there's power. I really believe the secrets of the universe that are tied to the 369 that Nikola Tesla talks so much about in a lot of his works, a lot of his history. You know, people acknowledge that he would say that the secrets of the universe are tied to the 3, the 6, and the 9. And so we have a triad here of 3 light beings that I know can do an incredible amount to bring the gifts that we have to the world so that people are uplifted, encouraged, and empowered. So Tracy, would you share with us those 1, 2, or 3 things that you're very passionate about?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really passionate about people having a voice, right? That's kind of what drives me all the time, is that if we feel shut down, if we feel like we are not getting our voices heard, and we have so much to say, like this is what I hear again and again from people. It's like, I just want people to hear what what I'm doing, what I've got, what I'm bringing to the world, because this is so exciting, or my mission or my project. And it just bugs me that there's so much, I'm going to say, technical stuff in the way of that getting out. And so much of it is artificial, right? It's artificial intelligence, it's artificial barriers, it's all bots and fakeness that is keeping us from actually making these authentic connections to others and getting our voices heard and hearing really great authentic voices at the same time, right? So we have to rely on this wonderful connections like Lillian's doing right here, right now, connecting to people across the world, right? But not everybody does that as well as she does, right? So we don't all get that opportunity. So it's my mission, my goal is to figure out what these fake barriers are and remove them. And sometimes it means I create a tool, and sometimes it means I have to create a service or create advice. Whatever that is, I'm willing to do it out there. But I just want to take all that tech and all that interference away so that we can really hear what we want. We can really hear what we need right now. And I think that's so missing. Just so funny that I I had my father-in-law of all people came to me and said, I've written a book. And I thought, this is fantastic. You've written a book. And he's like, my father-in-law, and I had no idea he was writing it. And it's all, he's had a whole career as a music conductor and a music teacher, like at a really high level. And he's amazing. And so he wrote a book about what it's like to be a teacher and where you can find resources and how you can tap into your creativity and because there aren't tons of them. I mean, there are hundreds of them around the country and here in the US, but there aren't tens of thousands that there's a giant organization, right? So he's trying to reach those college students that are going to study this in music schools and things like that. And I thought, this is a fabulous thing. But he's been this book that he actually published it like print on demand at one of these sites that does print on demand sheet music, which he sold his sheet music to orchestras and bands across the country, through this process. And so he thought, I'll put my book here, but sold a half a dozen or a dozen, not sold enough. And I said, I can connect you. I can help you with this. I can help remove this barrier, because the real issue is that these students are all getting digital textbooks. It's a digital book problem. They aren't finding your book because it's not digitally available on Kindle or whatever that might be. Yes. We can solve that problem. And now they'll find you, and, you can charge enough to make the time you spent on the book worthwhile, because there are a few of you in the world who have this expertise, right? So, thinking about that, it's like if he didn't just reach out and say something, how would I have known? Right? It wasn't right. It's just, that's the issue that we have, is that we're sitting back in our worlds of our businesses, our personal lives, and things that are going on. And sometimes we're not going out there and putting ourselves out there when we're on social media. We're not being authentic about it. We're not saying what we really need or what we really feel, because sometimes we're hiding behind the brand of our business, right? So we're putting up the brand front of our business because we don't want our clients to see that we really need some help figuring out this, legal strategy or this crowdfunding thing, which is what I'm working on right now, right? And so, all of those things in that process, we don't put it out there. And when we don't put it out there, we don't get a response. And, it's great if we meditate on that and we figure out who to talk to from that. But if we don't reach out and we don't reach in, we aren't going to get it either way.
That's amazing. That's so true.
Yeah, if you don't reach out and you don't reach within, it's the both and. That's what my book, The Intuition Manifesto, is about. Partly is paying attention to that inner intuition, that inner voice, and then taking inspired action, which, Tracy, you are brilliant at embodying that, to the point where you have these 40 patents, you have Podetize, you have all these things going on. You are brilliant at connecting those dots, but you do take inspired action, and that's part of your normal MO. For you, it's like an old, comfortable shoe, and that's why, because it's an old, comfortable shoe, you had to start at some point. It continues to flourish and exponentially grow, and you've never, the entire time that I've known you, since 2013, you've never had an exciting project that's going on. You always have a lot of synergy with all the people, places, and things, in a very beautiful, amazing way, with your partner inside, with your husband,
right?
Tom.
I get to spend all day with my best friend. It's wonderful.
Yeah, you're like the dynamic duo. And so this is absolutely awesome. So fantastic. So tell us a little bit about your crowdfunding. Exactly what are you crowdfunding for?
So yeah, the crowdfunding hasn't gone live yet, but it's coming. So essentially I have to officially say we're testing the waters. So that's kind of the official term for it. So I don't get in any legal hot water for mentioning it. But what we decided was that sometimes in a business, you get stuck in this place where you're not quite ready for your big plan growth. And mine is over $100 million growth. And that's next year. But I have this interim period, and I'd love to have some people along the way that are passionate as I am about it. And there's something that I learned early on in our product business when we were designing and developing products, and I was writing for Inc. magazine and all those things. I learned that product market fit is the most important thing that you can bring. So do people want to buy what you have to sell? Basically, it's like simplified there. Will people buy what you have to sell? But more importantly, I like to take it one more level. Will people rave about it? and tell others. And that's key. So this year, we're not only saying, look, we're probably the largest podcast production company in the world right now. I know we are in the US, but I think we're in the world, we're the largest right now. We produce more shows and launch more shows than iHeart Radio, and they're the next largest. So I know that's that we're already in a good place from a sales perspective, but we also have a really high referral rate from our customers. But I want to translate that into saying, and we're worth investing in because our clients are not only willing to buy from us, but they're also willing to invest in us. And that's why we decided to open the crowdfund round to say, podcasters everywhere, you can be a part of what Podetize is doing and how we're changing the marketplace to make it more independently focused and be a part of that. And that's how we want to prove that we're really highly investable, so that when I go a year from now and go for that 100 million, it's going to be a no question.
Wow, that's amazing.
So this dovetails so well, and I'm not surprised, because the world in which we all live in, the three of us, is that world where you have signs, symbols, synchronicity, you have these divine appointments, you have things that are really unexplainable. There's even language patterns and phrases that, we didn't rehearse this meeting before we came on here. And I kid you not, because I wanted to make sure that I asked you guys some specific questions I actually wrote down, and you guys are going to recognize the language patterns, which we're different human beings, and how is it possible that some of the key phrases that Tracy just said are in the questions that I wrote? Crazy. So I'm going to read the first question that I have for you guys is, how may I bring value to you while at the same time get some exposure on your shows, on your platforms? And then the next question is, I'm looking for just 1,000 true fans to be in my Intuition Manifesto as raving fans. In other words, 1,000 true fans. So they're going to be part of the Intuition Manifesto Insider Circle. And so those are the two key questions that I wanted to ask you two. And I just think, oh my gosh, how serendipitous, because Tracy, you just got done talking about having true raving fans. And so who doesn't want that?
Right. Right. Absolutely. Well, this is the thing is, for anyone who thinks that you can just do that overnight, like you're going to place a Facebook ad and you're going to end up with 1,000 fans overnight, like they're not going to be active. And that's the difference in how I approach everything, is that I want the active people. I want the people who are going to take action. I want the people who are going to be truly passionate about this. And I want the people that I can make the most difference with. I'd rather spend my time there than and so I say this to my podcasters all the time. There are those out there who have, hundreds of thousands of listeners to their podcast show. Yeah. And I'd rather have a show with 1,000 listeners that listen to every single one of my episodes. At the end of the day, we have proof as to how that works, that if those 1,000 fans come back again, we call them bingeable listeners, right? Because I have the show, The Binge Factor. But if we do that and we get them to come back and binge on us, they have us in their ear and they are so eager to implement what we do. They're going to make a difference in the world, and they're going to rave and tell others. And it is going to work for us tenfold, where the 100,000 fans who occasionally tune in and could take or leave what we have, that's just not the right way to go about it if you're looking to do this intense tribe build. But it doesn't happen overnight. You got to put some effort into it. You got to get those first few in. And so I like it to go a 10, 10, 10. So you get the first 10 in, Lillian, the next 10 are going to follow. And that's how we looked at it. And we went from 10 podcasts or people who begged us to help them with their podcast in year one. And then we went to 100 the next year. And then we went to 500 or 300, 500, 1,000. That's how we did it in a row. So it has an exponential growth factor for you. And that's what will go. So get those first 10. They're going to make all the difference.
So 10x growth factor, to go from 10 to 100, that's massive. It's all relative, the numbers. To go from the 1 to the 10 to 500 to 1,000, it's not a linear progression. And I think that's the biggest takeaway for people who are eventually going to be listening to this, is that it's we in our human minds, we think that everything is a linear progression. And if it took a year to get 10, it's going to take a year to get to 20. And that's not true. Things happen like, oh my gosh, for Louise, the way things happen quantum exponentially, it's insane. It's out of this world. The way, I mean, it doesn't make sense. If you were to follow a linear progression, for you to have the time to create 40 patents doesn't seem humanly possible. And yet you have. You've done it already. And who knows how many more are still in your vortex of creation, that some of them you're aware of, and others that are in queue, and then ones who you have no idea about, but are surely going to come. So I think that is like a huge takeaway for people to know, just get started. I have just at the beginning of this year, I hit 12 million views on Google. Now, that didn't happen overnight. I remember when I first started doing reviews on Google, I only had one person look at my pictures, then 2,000. And then I really didn't pay attention to the number actually for years. And then the next thing I knew, I had hundreds of thousands, and it literally went from hundreds of thousands to like 2-3 million. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I remember when I hit 1 million, which was not that many years ago, I hit 1 million. I thought, wow, how is it possible that I have 1 million views on Google? And then I literally went from 1 million to 12 million, but I wasn't really paying attention too much to the numbers because I have so many other things going on. I blinked and now it's like 12 million. So I need to have a conversation. I know that I'm way overdue to talk to you about how do I leverage that. And I've been meaning, which I'm gonna go on public. You guys are both my witness. I'm going to sign up to Podetize so that you can help me exponentially grow my YouTube channel and my other social media platforms, because that's it. You know, why would I go for, anything less than a Rolls Royce? This is like,
well, we try not to charge Rolls Royce prices, let me tell you. So it's not going to cost you that, but we will be love to help you because Lillian, you are going to, because you already have the right instincts. I don't have to teach you the things about how to serve your community, how to put these things first. Your heart is always in the right place with your tribe first. It's just easier that way.
Yeah, so I'm very excited. I'm going to, ask you for whatever after we're done with this, so you can send me the information. I'm just going to go ahead and pull the trigger and get it done now. There's no reason to wait. But and also, you're my friend. I know, I like, and I trust you. That's what I'm constantly telling people all the time. It's like, pay attention to the people that you know, you like, and trust. Because if they're resonating, and I talk about it in the Intuition Manifesto book, I also talked about it when I wrote this in 2011. I talked about developing your database, how to build certain qualifier database so you can do business by referral. People will know, like, and trust you. They are going to want to be part of your database. They want to hear from you. And it is a much more effective way of communicating and keeping in contact and marketing with them. And I literally, 1 year, I was only looking to increase my business by 10 or 15%. My numbers in terms of aspiration were low because I thought 10 or 15% was a reasonable expectation, and I doubled my business. Little did I know that following year that my son was going to go from being an expert skier to being paralyzed from the neck down. And then I ended up spending, from, interestingly enough, April 9th, which happens to be my grandmother's birthday, the balance of that year, I spent it with my son in the hospital. He almost died of Guillain-Barré, and he was in pediatric intensive care for 11 and a half weeks. There's no way anything could have prepared me for that. But because I had built, sorted, and qualified my database to do it by referral, I had so many raving fans. To be honest with you, I don't remember what the number of raving fans were, but my business did not skip a beat. My business still grew, even though I did 1 or 2% effort, because I had to spend all my time. When I was in the hospital for those 11 weeks with him, I didn't have time for anything. However, because you spend a lot of time in the hospital where you can't use electronics because of the medical equipment, and in pediatric intensive care especially, there's not a lot of room. So guess what? I had a lot to be grateful for. Every nurse that tended to my son, every doctor, every janitor, every technician, every lab specialist, every person that came to visit my son. His friends that were under 12 were not allowed in PICU, but his friends who were 12, that were a little older than him, that came to visit him in PICU with his parents, every single person got a personal note from me. The moment they walked out the door, I was writing them a personal note. That's part of what this is. So I built it kind of the good old fashioned way, but it was really heart to heart connection. And those people took care of me. And the people who didn't know about what was going on in my personal life, when I came out of that hospital situation, and now I'm spending 5 days a week going to Hoag Hospital for physical and occupational therapy, juggling my other 2 kids, juggling 24 agents, 25 up to 27 agents that I had and brokers that were working for me. Guess what? I wasn't working in my business, but the one thing I was working in my business was those personal notes, those text messages, and those phone calls. That's all I did, which didn't take very much time. Some people would say, well, how'd you have time to do that? I could not afford the luxury of not doing that, because that's the connection that I was keeping with my people. And so that's what this book, I don't give 100% of the system in that book, because that would be obviously in a life training, but I give enough of it that it shows you how to create customers for life. And a lot of those people still, even though I've transitioned from the money business, which is mortgage banking and real estate, in healing modalities, where I'm a somatic practitioner, so I help people heal from emotional and physical trauma, because that has been part of the root of who I am since I was 11. It's all connected, even though you think, wow, the money business and healing don't seem like 2 things that are connected. But at the center of it, and Louise knows this too, and you do too, Tracy, at the center of it is your heart as a human being, how you show up in the world. Love is the answer, and that's the foundation to all of this.
Yeah, well,
So,
I think Louise
amazing.
probably really knows what brand perception is getting customers for life.
From you guys, I would love for you guys to get back to me and let me know what are the answers.
I've lost you, Lillian.
Can you say that again, Tracy?
I was saying that Louise, as a
Can you repeat
brander,
it also,
yeah, Louise as a brander should absolutely know that brand perception means customers for life too. So I can bet you anything she's got some good advice for you there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything you've said up until now, I think, and so just one point on starting and getting started, because I think you both touched on the fact that, you said starting with 10, the numbers are low in the beginning. Like, it takes a lot to get the business going to a point where you could step away from it for a while and it runs without you. Like, this doesn't happen overnight. And I had a mentor that always talked about the popcorn effect. You have it in the microwave for a while before it starts popping. And I think the biggest concern is that people give up too early, or they think it's not working, or they just look at the vanity metrics of, I don't have enough people liking my posts, or I don't have enough followers. And I've seen some people on YouTube that they don't actually have a lot of subscribers, but they're making money every day from their YouTube channel because they're putting a lot of value out there, and people, they're not subscribing, but they're buying. So I think the vanity metrics can cause people a lot of grief, and they don't need to, because it's just staying true to your purpose, and the fact that it's impact first should help relieve some of that stress, that you're there to help people, to give an impact. And like you said, being really authentic and showing up as yourself. The biggest mistake I made when I started my business was I was listening to too many other people and because they were millionaires, I was like, well, they know better than me. And I wasn't listening to my intuition. I sacrificed what was true to myself to try and be like someone else. That was the biggest mistake I made. And I was not happy in how I was showing up, and everything was a struggle, because I wasn't, as my mentor says, working in my zone of genius. And so it's getting the balance of, who do you listen to? Really, who do you listen to? If they have strategies or skills, take what you need, but always listen to yourself first, and know that your journey is going to be so different from everyone else. And when I started my business, I remember, like, you talk about synchronicity, and there was a car in front of me and the bumper sticker says, go your own way. And I should have listened to it when I saw that bumper sticker, and I didn't. Go your own way. My journey is so different. The business I've built is so different from anyone else's.
Remember that right now. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's such an important, aha there, Louise, that you just said, because I see it again and again. And it's part of why we don't have, I'm going to say we have programmatic tools, things that work every time. And we do very similarly. Everything we try to do is customized, it's bespoke. And the reason we chose to do that is because your business, Lillian's mission, her, goals to create this tribe are not the same. And so the same tactics, strategies, programs aren't going to work for everybody. So how do we apply them in ways that is really going to make it successful for someone and yet still have a business that's manageable, because you obviously still have to have team and systems and processes and things like that. So we built in and figured out where those pieces were essential to be customized to whatever stage you are in or whatever your end goals were. And we start with that as our first point as we make decisions and give advice along the way, so that, and not everybody gets this cookie cutter, result as you end up going through it. Because what happens is that those that didn't start with quite enough business to begin with end up with, results that are underbaked. And then those that have, that are, you'd burn them if you'd burn your cookies if you gave them all of the techniques at once, and they're not ready for it yet. So, we have progressive tools as well. But I think that's so true, that it's just this idea that it has to be one way and that's it. This is so not true.
Yeah. And then it becomes inauthentic. And I look at so many people out there that are just looking to make money online, and then their offers sound like everyone else's, and they connect. I get hit up on Facebook all the time by people. Here are the best sales strategies, or how to get, make another 50K in your business. And it's just so inauthentic. And I think that what you both are doing is just amazing, because you're really celebrating the individual for what their personal gifts are and the kind of impact they can make in the world, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, one of the things I admire about Tracy, and I also admire about Louise, is that you embody and you follow the advice that one of my mentors, who I spent almost $1,000 a month for years and years and years. His name is Brian, and he would say, he's a good old Irish chap, and he would say, give it out in slices and it'll come back to you in loaves. There's an actual Irish saying that says, if you give it out in slices, it'll come back to you in loaves. And boy, oh boy, what profound wisdom that came out of that man's mouth. He got those words from his mother, God bless her little heart and soul, little Irish woman about my size. I'm only 5'1". And I have taken that advice, which was already kind of part of my natural predisposition. And as I would give it out in slices, it came back in loaves and loaves. I got to tell you, not just literally in the millions. I mean, I actually have held in my hand a check for, I'm not going to say exactly how much, but it's over $1 million. And it's because I employed that, but I wasn't focused on that. I knew that eventually would come. I thought, oh my God. And to this day, I play with that, because my kids have always known that I say this. And sometimes I'll pull up to, there anything else that you want aside from cinnamon dolce latte or your caramel latte? And I said, well, listen, there happens to be an extra mill laying around there, and it's kind of getting in your way. I absolutely adore to take that mill off your hands and help you take care of that. And so then we both get a nice little chuckle, a nice little laugh. But the universe, infinite source intelligence, knows that, because I know that I don't wait to make $1 million in order to give to others. I'm giving at the scale and rate that I can right now. However, we all have something to give. And I remember a story that Neale Donald Walsch said when he wrote the book, Conversations with God. And it was one of the first few seminars after his book was published. He had a homeless man, much like Neale Donald Walsch, who was homeless, came to his seminar, and his clothes were kind of disheveled. And he was able, because Neale made that seminar available for free to people, that man made his way to the seminar and he listened to what Neale said. And he said, everybody has something to give. He goes, even when I was homeless and I was sleeping on a park bench in a public park, I still had a dime that I could give, 2-3 cents that I could give. Because when I was homeless, I remember I would pick up every penny, every nickel, every dime, every quarter on the floor. And when I got to 95, 96, 97 cents, I still couldn't go to McDonald's to buy a hamburger. I still needed 3 more cents to complete that dollar. And then I needed to get 6, 7, or 8 cents to include the tax. Every penny counted. I was grateful for every single penny. So as a homeless person, I knew that still, he knew the law of reciprocity. So he knew that there are homeless people that were even less fortunate than him that didn't have that $7 or $8 to buy that hamburger. At least he was only a few pennies away. And his goal was to have at least enough to buy at least one burger a day. And so he would give, sometimes he had 97 cents, he would still give 3 cents to somebody else who didn't have those 3 cents. And miraculously, he would get $1. He only needed 7 or 8 or 9 cents. And instead, somehow the universe would give him $1, or he would get $10, which was a feast for him in those days. So to the homeless man, after the seminar, the homeless man went up to him and he said, you know what, I literally have nothing. I'm a homeless person. And he said, because you still have something to give. I go, when I say give, I don't mean money. He goes, what is something that you're good at? And he said, well, people tell me I have a pretty good sense of humor. He said, oh my God, you could be giving the gift of laughter every day, and you could really change the lives of people through that gift of laughter. So the guy never thought of his gift of having the ability to make people laugh as being that much of a big deal, but he started to give the gift of laughter all day long. And in a I don't remember what time frame, but it was a really short time frame. Somebody took note of him and gave him a job. The next year, a year later, Neil Donald Walsh he sees this man in the middle of the room wearing this beautiful Italian designer sweater and pants and beautiful, dressed to the nines. And then the guy after the seminar came up to him and he said, wow, he goes, I got to tell you, when I was doing the talk, you're dressed impeccably to the nines. And that's an Italian, I'm familiar with that designer. That is an awesome sweater you have. The guy proceeded to take the sweater off. He gave it to him and he's like, oh, I can't take that. He goes, yes, you can. He goes, you don't remember me because I was dressed as a homeless person because a year ago I was homeless and you told me to give the gift of laughter. And I didn't even have 3 pennies to my name at the time. All I had is what I was wearing. And you gave me that advice. And because you gave me that advice, because I believed you, and because I trusted in my ability to make people laugh, I just made it my mission to make people laugh all day long. And very shortly, a few weeks after I did that, somebody took notice of me and was so affected by the humor that I had that they decided to give me a sales job. And so I'm a salesman for XYZ company now, and I have done way past anything I could have ever imagined, to the point where I can afford designer clothes now. So I want you to keep that sweater as a memento. And that's my way of saying thank you to you. I think the sweater was like, I don't know, $400 or $500. It was a very expensive sweater. And he said, you keep that sweater as a reminder. And so everybody has something to give. Everybody has something to give. And so, yeah, I'm very excited about this meeting that we're having here. And I know that it's the genesis of something. 2022, there's a special magic energy about it. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but I kind of feel like there's just.
Your story was really inspirational. And I'd just want to follow that up with another one, because just before I met you guys, I went to have breakfast with a friend of mine, and she's a mom. She's got 2 very young kids. She's blind, and she, they don't have very much money. And because of lockdown, her husband's basically working out of a cupboard in their little house. And she's with a baby and a toddler all day. Wow. And before she had the second child, she was actually a trainer. She used to go into large corporate organizations and train them on disability and diversity inclusion in the workplace. And she stopped, and she's like, she met me today because she said, I don't know what to do. I can't carry on like this, stuck at home all day with the kids. And I said, why don't you start your own business doing what you were doing before, which is going around organizations and helping them to recruit and manage people with a disability? And she's like, I don't know if I can. And I'm like, well, how long were you doing it for? She said, I've been doing it for 13 years. And I'm like, you know everything about it. You could set up your own business. I'm like, how much do you charge for a workshop? Because she was working for a company on minimum wage, right? And she goes, oh, they charge $4,000 for a 3-hour workshop to the corporate. And I'm like, and how much do you make? Like $30 an hour. You could do this. You could totally do this yourself. Start your own business. And so now I'm going to help her with her business plan. There's so many people out there that have, like you said, something to give, and they just don't have a vision, or they just don't realize that they can do it.
And they just don't take that first step either. They just, I mean, you know, the homeless guy wasn't going to go stand up comedy. He decided, I'm just going to start with, you know, making people smile and laugh all day long. Right. It's something I can affect and do. Like, that's where I feel that there's a lot in the entrepreneurial world, especially where they get hung up on, I have to have a plan and I have to have all this stuff in order. And they just never get started. They don't even take that first step. They're trying to figure out every step along the way. And what a lot of times, I mean, I know from personal experience, you take the first step and it's going to lead you to a totally different step than you think was going to be the next one, even if you planned it out perfectly. So it's not going to happen anyway. Yeah.
That's so true. Yeah, that you're right. It's taking that first step. And I wish I'd started my business years ago. I stayed in corporate far too long because I never really thought that I had it in me to start my own business and I was good enough.
You know, we've done something because Tom and I designed a bunch of products which is why we have all those patents and innovations, right? We designed all these products for companies like Herman Miller, Martha Stewart, you know, big brands, Costco, Walmart. Actually, stuff that we designed are available in Australia, mostly office furniture, but or furniture in Costco, that kind of thing. And so anyway, but we used to say that the best thing to do when you didn't, you know, that sometimes people are product people. You know, some of those people are like the inventors of the world. They come out with this and then they agonize over their brand. And I always say, have a hypothesis brand. That's what I called it. Or starter brand would be another way to describe it. It's like, I think my consumer is going to be this type of person. So I'm going to create a brand to test that out, like a hypothesis. And sometimes it will work out and sometimes it won't. And my company, Podetize, started out as something so like ridiculously simple, like podcast start point. And then something happened and we had bought a URL that was because we were going to move into doing more advertising, and it was pod.ad, but you had to enroll the .ad is a .ad. You had to enroll that in the country of Andorra. And the person that I had helping with it didn't understood Portuguese, but not that well. And evidently we missed a deadline for renewing it and we lost our URL and we couldn't renew it. And so, so we were like, what do we do? And we were like coming up with a brainstorm list. And that's when because we now knew our customer really well, we knew what they were asking us for. And we knew so much more. Pod.ad actually didn't resonate with 90% of those customers anyway, because we weren't really doing advertising for them. We were doing brand building. And so we came up with the Podetize, which was podcasting and monetization. And we always called it alternative anyway. And so alternative monetization, put them together. And that's how Podetize came about. And it wouldn't have happened if like we hadn't lost the URL. And so it forced us into a brand change. And so important though, but we got it right that time because we really knew where we were and we'd been through that hypothesis phase.
That's amazing. And you're right. Like where you start off is not usually where you end up. So as much as you can have the best plans, you kind of have to be open to things that might seem like a problem or something that went wrong can actually just be a turning point into something so much better.
Yeah. Well, Tom and I are big fans of not letting anything be a barrier. So
yeah.
Yeah. Well, and Tracy, you know, from the Bottom Line Show live days when I produced and hosted that, one of the things that I discovered, you know, as I interviewed, you know, founders and CEOs and champions and captains of industry of, you know, the Inc. 5000 list and beyond, was that no experience is wasted. So in your particular case, you lost that URL and you're going, darn, we lost that. But you know what? Things happen and there's no experience that's wasted. And that's because the universe knew that really wasn't the highest and best use of your time and energy to focus on that particular URL, because there was something so much better. And now from, you know, when you are looking, you know, hindsight's 2020. So now looking back, you couldn't have anticipated that you were going to grow in this direction and that the ad aspect of it wasn't going to be at the foundation of where you were moving forward to. But now you add some time and now you look in your rearview mirror and you're like, oh, wait a minute, that didn't work out because that's not really an accurate avenue for us to go down. This is more an accurate, that's going to serve me better and serve my clients better. And so there it is.
Yeah, I think of one other thing that you mentioned before is like mentors and gurus and other people that you're following and you're doing these things for. I think it's also our mindset to the approach of what we're going to get from them. There's been a lot of things that, I spent money on that, in hindsight, yeah, maybe wasn't directly the best investment. Like, I spent $40,000 basically buying a website and, was buying all the things to create it and everything within it, but it cost me about $40,000 to do it. But the reality is that I learned something that now I make millions on, because I learned from buying that and working with that company closely exactly how we do our blog formats for our clients. And I know today, because we just got some absolute proof that it works and that that the other process doesn't work. Like, it actually killed somebody else's site using one of our competitor techniques. And our technique is like their site's growing and all of that. So, we looked at that and we go, wow, that $40,000 was an investment in learning. And so if you approach whatever that is from that perspective, you have a better open mind, because I see a lot of people get really disappointed. They spent such a money on a course or on a person or whatever it was, but because they had this exact idea of what they were supposed to get out of it. And a lot of that is the promise, because I also look at a lot of those promises and go, that's not going to happen, because I've heard them before, so maybe it's just a healthy skepticism I already have there. But because I'm like, yeah, that's not really the value that I'm expecting from it, but I do expect this learning experience from it. And somebody else's perspective and viewpoint is going to add to mine. That's going to be of value and worth spending the money. And because you approach things from that way, you end up in a better place.
Yeah. So I love that, because you look at the silver lining in every situation. So rather than focusing on what you didn't get, which is going to make you just bitter and cynical and jaded about future experiences, because assuming that that's going to happen again, because we go into this protective mode, instead you go, you know what, even though I didn't get this, which was promised, maybe I don't recognize in the moment the benefit that gave me, but with time, you're going to recognize, as you look back, you're like, wait a minute, that was life tuition that I paid and I learned X, Y, Z. I'm realizing and recognizing that the value that brought to me was this. And I would have never learned it had it not been in this manner. And so thank you to the universe. If you just get into the habit of whatever obstacles, challenges, or pitfalls that you have, and you realize that those are there, not against you, but they're there for you. And that if you just look for the gold nugget, look for the opportunity, look for the learning experience, rather than looking for what didn't work out the way you expected it to. And instead of, okay, this is in my life experience. It's not a waste. It's a waste if I just chuck it off as money that I threw down the toilet. If instead you go, you know what, there's something valuable here. And then you just tell yourself, what is it that I took away from this experience? What did I learn? Where's the gold nugget? Because the truth is there's a gold nugget in every experience, especially the painful ones.
And as you pointed out, if you get angry and bitter.
Awesome, Tracy.
Yeah. If you get angry and bitter, as you just pointed out.
Well, is there anything else that you guys want to discuss before we get off on this? We're getting close to an hour.
Yeah. So I was just saying, Lillian, that if you get angry and bitter, the problem is that there was some good lessons there and you will not see them if you're angry and bitter. So you'll miss them and you'll throw out the good things. Like, so, whether it was like tactics and whatever, you'll be like so jaded about that you don't even want to apply those anymore. And you're skipping out on some things that you really still need to keep in your repertoire. So yeah, absolutely. Don't throw it all away.
Yeah. And also when you have that mindset, the next time you sign up for a coaching program, you know that you came in for one thing, but you're also open to what else am I going to get out of this besides what they promised me? What else can I learn or pick up on? Maybe it's the way they even deliver the coaching program that you learned from, how they speak to you, how they show up for you, not just what they're teaching you. So I totally agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, we're coming up here to the top of the hour. I will text you guys those 2 questions that I want you guys to answer. This, this is just between the 3 of us, but if I have your permission, I would like to have this featured also on YouTube. So I'm having this recorded on YouTube, but it's on private. So if you give me permission, I would love to make this available to my YouTube viewers, because I think that this falls hand in hand with Love and Money Secrets TV, what we're all about. And it's showing them an example of, we are actually living and doing this. It's not just something that we share and we talk about or train others about or guide people, but this is actually how we do business. This is like the real uncensored. I'm not going to add an intro no, this is just the pure, real us. And
I'm good with that.
Geographical locations.
I'm good with that. You have my permission. I like to be open about all of that anyway. So if someone else can benefit, then let's let them.
Yes, absolutely. I would love that. Also, before we finish, I just want to know what I can do to help you guys, what opportunities there are for me to support you guys on your journeys. Especially Tracy. I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind, Tracy, is that I'm helping people with their personal brand, and definitely podcasting comes into that in terms of getting their message out there. And maybe there's some way that we could collab on it, or I can find out more about, how you work and what you do at Podetize. Because, I have clients that already run a podcast, but it's not working well for them and they don't know what they're doing wrong. And I have people that might want to do it, but they don't know where to start. So
well, I have some Australian clients. We actually shifted around a couple of our coaching schedules to help out the time change for them, so make it a little easier for them to show up. But yeah, I'd love to do that. So I'll send you my calendar after this, and we'll just connect up and we'll get on each other's calendar and find out some more, because I also have people who need some branding help. So they're at the stage where they're ready to go for some real branding. So.
Amazing. And same for you, Lillian. Anything I can do to support you, please let me know.
You're welcome. And Louise, I want to dive in deeper eventually, also into your marketing platform as well. So let's have a discussion about that, because I would like to employ your services, and then we can share with my viewers, and we can share with, everyone out there on media and the different platforms that we have. You could even use me as a test case study so that people see. It's like, okay, this is when I started with Tracy on Podetize. This is when I started with Louise. And then let's track it 100 days from now, or 90 days, let's say, where are we? And, 4 quarters from now, a year from now, next January, we could even say next February 2nd, which will be the anniversary of the Intuition Manifesto launch. People will see, it's like, wow, if that's possible for her. You can't guarantee the exact same results, because everybody has a different, vein and model, but at least it shows you a possibility, which is what anybody can ask for. And, when it comes to, for example, in meditation, and we see Dr. Joe's testimonials, we see potentials, and we see ourselves as a reflection in those people. And if they were able to heal from whatever that disease, medical condition, that injury, or from that relationship, that addiction, whatever those different things are, it inspires hope and a knowingness. It's like, that really resonates with me. If that's possible for them, I know that that's possible for me. And then people take inspired action with that. So I'm so excited for you guys and for us.
I am too.
Me too. Thank you so much for arranging this, Lillian. It was such a pleasure to meet you, Tracy.
You too.
You two are both very inspiring people, and I really loved our talk.
Well, enjoy your day. And how old are your kids, Louise? I just got to know before we go, because I just realized we all have 3 kids, each of us. So it's like a club here.
Mine are 2, 5, and 7.
Oh, wow. You got them little. So mine are 7, 12, and 26, about to be 27. And she runs the company with me. So.
Oh, that's amazing. That's so lovely.
Same husband, just big span in age of kids.
Yeah.
Lillian, yours are all like grown now. I mean, they're like.
Mine are over 18.
I know.
So my youngest, my baby is 22. My daughter is 24. And then my oldest just turned 29.
Wow. It goes fast, doesn't it? You'll be there before you know it, Louise. Unfortunately. Yeah. Well, it's such a pleasure. Enjoy your day, Louise. Lillian, I don't even know what time it is for you there, but
almost 6 here.
Almost 6. Enjoy dinner then. I love it. Thank you all. Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.